Leo, let's not waste time today. A shocking amount of money is being transferred to you, and yes, a real bank is flagging it, but not because you did anything wrong. Quite the opposite. Something is happening behind the scenes that this world can't explain. And if you're watching this, it means your name is on that invisible wire. I know how this sounds. Maybe you're rolling your eyes, thinking, what now, another miracle payout reading? But stay with me. Because what's happening isn't superstition, hype, or empty manifestation talk. It's spiritual math finally balancing out. Something you've earned not overnight, but over a lifetime is being released. And the system doesn't know what to do with you. You see, Leo, you weren't meant to fit into their algorithms. You weren't born to be easily categorized or tracked. And that's exactly why the system is short-circuiting. Not because you're a risk, but because you're a revelation. Something about your energy, your timing, your very presence in the field right now is triggering a kind of energetic transfer that can't be signed off by any earthly authority. They're investigating you because they can't trace the sender. But deep down, you already know who approved it. You've been putting in work, real work. Not just physical labor, but emotional endurance, spiritual resilience, and acts of integrity no one ever clapped for. You stayed kind when it cost you. You held the door open for others even when yours was slammed shut. That's not weakness. That's spiritual wealth. And now, it's being deposited. But here's the twist. The people who overlooked you are now watching closely. And not because they finally get it, but because they can't understand how someone like you is receiving what they believe should only go to those with credentials, capital, or connections. They're confused because they only understand one kind of value and you've been cultivating another. This message isn't meant to flatter you. It's meant to prepare you. Because what's coming your way will challenge everything you've been taught about what it means to deserve something. It'll ask you to drop the need to justify, explain, or apologize. Your only job is to receive. Fully. Boldly. And with grace. So let me ask you this, Leo. If something massive was truly headed your way, something that could shift the way you live, give, lead, would you be ready to hold it? Not just in your hands, but in your heart? That's what this reading is about. This isn't the time to doubt your worthiness. It's the time to remember who you've always been. And if you're still here, still listening, something inside you recognizes that truth. So go ahead. Write it down. Speak it. Claim it. Leave a comment below and say, I confirm that I am the divine recipient. Because sometimes, the most powerful contracts don't come with signatures, they come with declarations. Let me also say this before we move forward, thank you. Truly. Every like, every comment, every time you choose to subscribe and support this channel, you're not just engaging with content, you're becoming part of a larger energetic field. One that's building something sacred, strong, and real. Eternal mindfulness wouldn't exist without you. So stay with me until the very end, because what the universe is revealing today, it's bigger than money. It's about reclaiming the life you were always meant to live. Let's go deeper. What's happening behind the scenes isn't about a transaction in the traditional sense. It's something deeper, something subtle but massive in consequence, like a shift in the tide that no one saw coming, yet everyone will feel. And for Leo, this moment has been a long time building. The energy right now is working like a current beneath the surface, slow, powerful, undeniable. Astrologically, the movement between the Sun and Pluto is a potent one. For those of you born between August 10th and 18th, you are standing directly in the corridor of cosmic recalibration. Think of it as a passageway opening, not with noise, but with a quiet force that changes everything it touches. This isn't about a bank simply miscalculating a transfer, it's about a system that's encountering something it was never built to measure, the truth of who you really are. In tarot, the appearance of the Emperor, the High Priestess, and the Ten of Pentacles tells a story that can't be ignored. The Emperor represents divine authority structure, yes, but also command, validation, leadership earned through experience. Not bought, not granted, but built from the inside out. The High Priestess? She represents what the world can't see but must answer to. Your inner knowing. The intuitive part of you that made decisions no one understood at the time, but that brought you to this exact moment. And the Ten of Pentacles, legacy, inheritance, long-term wealth, not just in money, but in presence, influence, and spiritual equity. This combination isn't casual. It's confirmation. There is, metaphorically speaking, a CEO involved. Not the kind who sits behind a glass desk signing off documents, but the kind who operates at the level of universal law. The one who's been watching, not judging, but observing. Taking notes on every act of generosity, every time you chose grace when you had every reason to retaliate. Every moment you stayed standing when it would have been easier to disappear. That's what this moment is really about. It's not an audit of your finances. It's an acknowledgement of your soul's investment. What's triggering the investigation is not your past, but your readiness. Because for so long, the material world has been waiting for paperwork, proof, justification, permission. But the spiritual world? It only requires resonance. And your frequency, Leo, has reached a volume that can no longer be ignored. You've become impossible to overlook. This is why your name is being pulled up. Why something large is trying to make its way to you. It's not because of luck. It's because the architecture of your life has shifted. Your inner structure, how you carry yourself, what you expect, what you're willing to release, has changed the way the universe organizes around you. And when that happens, doors don't just open, they dissolve. Because the wall was never real to begin with. It was just waiting for your soul to grow beyond it. This may feel uncomfortable, especially if you're not used to being investigated unless it meant trouble. But not all scrutiny is punishment. Sometimes, it's preparation. Sometimes, it's the world trying to catch up to what heaven already knows. So when you feel the resistance, when people start asking questions, when systems glitch and stall and shrink back, let it all unfold. What's coming isn't chaos. It's recognition. Let this moment be exactly what it is, a confirmation that your frequency, your integrity, your resilience have built something too real to ignore. And if that resonates with you, if you feel, even quietly, that something big is moving your way, then let this be the moment you step forward. Comment below, I confirm the frequency of my soul. Let that be your signature, your agreement, your answer. Not to prove anything. Just to affirm what has always been true. They won't find the sender. They can trace your address, your past jobs, your account activity, but they won't locate the true origin of what's being sent your way. That's because the source doesn't exist on paper. It doesn't sit behind a desk or leave a digital trail. The sender is energy. The kind that builds silently over time. The kind only your soul knows how to bank. Leo, think about how many times you could have hardened but didn't. How many moments you chose compassion when it cost you something real, your pride, your peace, maybe even your sense of safety. Each of those moments wasn't just good character. They were deposits. Invisible, yes, but deeply felt by the field around you. There's a kind of accounting in this universe that doesn't follow earthly currency. It's made of choices, of intentions, of emotional labor performed with no applause. And your ledger is not empty. The world and the Ace of Pentacles showing up together in your reading is no coincidence. It marks the closure of an old karmic chapter and the entrance into tangible reward. The world confirms, you've completed a cycle. You didn't run. You didn't skip steps. You faced what had to be faced. And the ace? It's the offer. A seed of wealth, yes, but not only in the financial sense. This is stability, recognition, opportunity that you can touch, hold, and build from. This is the kind of gift that carries the weight of all your quiet work and asks, are you ready to plant it? This isn't about luck. This is cause and effect, with spiritual memory built into every outcome. You might not even remember all the moments you showed up for others or forgave without being asked, but your energy field does. And the law of attraction doesn't just respond to vision boards or affirmations. It responds to alignment. When your actions match your essence long enough, the universe takes notice even when the world doesn't. What you're experiencing now, or about to, is not magic. It's the release of what's been held back until the conditions were right. Until you were right. That means emotionally, mentally, even physically. This may be why the last season felt so heavy, so foggy, or so stagnant, because your field was being restructured to hold something bigger. And now the vault is opening. I want you to really let that in. You're not chasing after something. Something is being returned to you. Not just paid back, but with interest. Because what you've given was never small. It just wasn't immediately visible. And the systems around you, whether financial, familial, or societal, aren't equipped to recognize that kind of capital. But that doesn't mean it's not real. When you begin to feel the shift, whether through a random opportunity, unexpected help, or just a strange piece that doesn't match your external circumstances, don't brush it off. That's the payout arriving in ways you didn't expect but have absolutely earned. So take a breath here. Let yourself receive. You don't need to justify or explain. You just need to stay open. And if you feel that quiet truth rising in your chest, like something inside you has been waiting for this very moment to be named, I want you to write it down. Comment below and say, I am the heir of light. Not for me. For you. To mark the moment that you finally said it out loud. For a long time, you may have felt like a red flag. Not because you were doing anything wrong, but simply because you didn't fit into the mold. Maybe people said you were too emotional, too intense, too idealistic. Maybe you were the one who always saw through the game, who asked questions no one wanted to answer, who refused to pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. And because of that, the world labeled you too much, too complicated, too different. You learn to walk carefully, to edit yourself, to make your light just a little less bright so it wouldn't make others uncomfortable. But the truth is, Leo, you were never a red flag. You were a bright flare, one the system just wasn't built to recognize. Now that system is glitching, and you are the reason. Not because you're causing trouble, but because you're activating a frequency that breaks old patterns. The same people, institutions, and structures that once dismissed you are now trying to understand you. And it's not because you changed who you are, it's because you stopped hiding. That's what energy does. When it's held back, it becomes pressure. But when it's released, it becomes power. The red flags they raised weren't about danger. They were about disruption, your presence disrupting the norm, your truth revealing the cracks in the facade. And now, they don't know how to process it. This is what happens when someone evolves beyond the framework built to contain them. You are no longer operating on the terms they set. You're no longer asking for permission. And that's making the system panic, not out of punishment, but because it's being forced to admit it missed something valuable. You. Astrologically, this moment is pivotal. The movement of the planets around you isn't random. It's highlighting your solar identity, your core sense of self, and amplifying the parts of you that used to feel like liabilities. Your emotional depth, your loyalty, your sensitivity, your instinct to protect what's sacred, those are not flaws. They are your currency in this new era. What once made you hard to place, now makes you irreplaceable. You are not just a person anymore. In the eyes of energy, you are a resource. A stabilizing force. A beacon. And that's why things are shifting around you. That's why doors are opening that used to be sealed shut. That's why people who used to avoid you are now circling back, drawn to something they can't quite explain. Because you carry something they've forgotten. The courage to live authentically, even when it's inconvenient. This part of your journey is not about proving anyone wrong. It's not about revenge or validation. It's about embodiment. You no longer have to argue your worth. You are living it. And when you stand in that space with quiet conviction, the world doesn't get to decide anymore. The transfer has already been approved. What you're seeing now is the aftermath of a system realizing it had you filed in the wrong category all along. So this is where you pause and say, I'm not a problem to fix. I'm the piece they never factored in. Say it to yourself, say it aloud, say it in the comments if it helps anchor the truth. Right. I no longer ask for permission. I step into my destiny. Not because you're trying to make a point, but because it's time. And because deep down, you've known it all along. Sometimes, receiving isn't the hard part, it's believing you're allowed to receive. And Leo, let's be honest, you've been wired for so long to push through, to work harder, to prove yourself, that when something finally begins flowing your way, your first instinct might be to brace for impact instead of opening your hands. That's why this moment requires more than awareness. It calls for daily, grounded practice. Because the kind of energy you're stepping into doesn't just show up in your bank account or inbox, it shows up in how you think, breathe, walk, and carry yourself through the ordinary moments. So start with something small. Each morning, before the noise kicks in, write down this one line, I am worthy. Not as an affirmation to force, but as a seed you're planting. Do it even if your hands shake. Even if it doesn't feel true yet. Because what we write consistently begins to rewrite us. And when you pair that with just 5 minutes of stillness, imagining a golden light pouring in through the top of your head, filling your chest, anchoring into your spine, you're reminding your nervous system that safety doesn't just exist in struggle. It also exists in surrender. And while we're on the subject of your body, listen to it. Energetic upgrades tend to land where you've been carrying weight. For Leo, that often shows up in the lower back, the heart, and the blood pressure areas tied to responsibility, passion, and inner pressure. Don't ignore them. Support your physical vessel. Warm lemon water in the morning can do more than just cleanse your system, it sets a tone of care. Adding magnesium or B vitamins might seem simple, but they're essential allies for a brain adapting to a new frequency. Your body needs to know it's safe to expand. Give it that assurance. Then there's the matter of space, literal and symbolic. Start with your wallet. Clean it. Clear old receipts, delete those debt tracking apps that keep you stuck in past cycles. You're not pretending money doesn't matter. You're creating space for it to arrive in new ways. Write down 3 specific ways you'd use new money, not just to spend but to create value. Read them aloud every day. Watch how your relationship with abundance shifts from scarcity and shame to stewardship and trust. And if your job, your role, or your daily routine feels like a skin you've outgrown, you're not imagining it. This is a season of redefinition, especially under Pluto's transit. It's no longer about staying where you're tolerated or seen as reliable. It's about claiming a space where your light isn't just useful, it's necessary. If the place you're in doesn't recognize your voice, maybe it's time to speak to new rooms. Update your energetic resume. Redefine how you see yourself, not by title, but by impact. Love, too, is shifting. Not in the loud, dramatic way Leo sometimes expects, but in quiet, sacred currents. Someone may be drawing near, someone who doesn't just admire your brightness, but sees the quiet light you've been hiding. Don't dim it for comfort. Love like someone who knows they're chosen. Not to fill a gap, but to share an overflow. Trust that the right connection won't demand performance, it will mirror peace. And if everything I've said so far resonates, then I want you to take a moment and declare it. Comment below and write, "I receive and use my light responsibly." Because your presence isn't random. This energy isn't a test. It's an invitation. The question is, will you answer it? Over the next 33 days, something unusual will happen, but not in the loud, dramatic way people often expect. There won't be fireworks. There won't be an email titled, "Congratulations, your destiny has arrived." Instead, what unfolds will be subtle, almost imperceptible to the outside world. But inside you, Leo, it will feel like something essential is finally clicking into place. The systems around you may remain quiet, and that silence can feel strange at first, especially if you're used to chasing outcomes, explaining yourself, or fighting to be heard. But this time, you won't need to push. The decision has already been made in your favor. The wire has cleared. The blessing is in motion. And you won't have to beg for what's always had your name on it. When energy moves in alignment with who you are, physical reality doesn't need to make an announcement. It simply rearranges. You may find yourself waking up feeling lighter without knowing why. You might catch your breath at the quiet realization that you're not as anxious, or reactive, or uncertain. You may notice that people suddenly begin to see your value without you having to convince them. Doors open without being knocked on. Things you once had to chase are now circling back toward you, as if they've been redirected by something larger than logic. This is the mark of a silent approval from the universe. And what's beautiful about this phase is that it gives you time to adjust, to breathe into the new space you're being offered. In astrology, transits that bring transformation, especially those tied to power, such as Pluto or the number 8 in numerology, aren't just about gain. They're about responsibility. You're not just being given light. You're being asked to manage it. And managing light, Leo, means something more than being the brightest in the room. It means knowing when to shine and when to listen. It means using what you've been given not just to glow, but to guide. That may sound abstract, but here's what it looks like in real life: making clear decisions without second-guessing yourself. Trusting your first instincts more. Saying no without guilt. Saying yes without fear. Acting as if you've already been approved because you have. The tarot energy tied to this phase 33 daisies the world and the Ace of Pentacles echoed from before, but now they carry new weight. The world tells us this is a full circle moment. Something is completing. Something is being closed not just on paper, but in your emotional timeline. The Ace of Pentacles, meanwhile, is the offer you're being handed not just in the form of money or opportunities, but as grounding energy. This is what allows you to stop floating in survival mode and start planting something lasting. The color amber gold ties to wisdom, clarity, and solar energy, or natural element. It keeps you grounded in your power. Deep blue connects to trust, communication, and truth. Together, they create the energetic frequency of calm confidence. You don't need to rush or prove. You just need to stay in resonance with what you already know to be true. And let's not overlook the number 8. In numerology, it represents not just abundance, but the closing of karmic loops. It's the shape of infinity turned upright, reminding us that everything you've put out is returning. But this time, it's coming back in ways that last. Not fleeting highs. Real, grounded reward. So over these 33 days, stay present. Stay open. Take notes if needed. And most importantly, respond as if this transfer has already happened, because energetically, it has. If you feel this settling in your spirit, write it out loud in the comments. I accept my role as a manager of light. Let that be your agreement. Quiet, simple, powerful, just like the energy that's now surrounding you. Leo, you don't need to prove yourself anymore. Not to a system that never understood your value in the first place. Not to people who misread your fire as arrogance, your compassion as weakness, your truth as defiance. The truth is, the system that once ignored you is now recalibrating to accommodate you. You were never the problem. You were always the pattern breaker. The spark they couldn't predict. The disruption they couldn't explain. You are the very proof that their models were incomplete. This investigation that's happening around you, it's not punishment. It's recognition. You are being studied not because something is wrong, but because something has shifted. And that shift is you. You are no longer who you were 5 years ago. Or even 5 months ago. You've done the quiet work. The inner healing. The late night wrestling with self-worth, the morning rituals when no one was watching, the decisions to rise in integrity when it would have been easier to shrink. And now, reality is responding. Let it. Because what you're stepping into isn't just a new phase, it's a new authority. Not the kind that shouts. The kind that simply walks into a room and changes the air. You are not waiting for blessings. You are the activation point for them. The deposit has already been signed off by something greater than logic. Something that saw your soul long before the world ever saw your name. And that means you don't have to ask for small anymore. You've been chosen to manage something vast. Something sacred. Something eternal. So I ask you now, how will you move forward knowing this? How will you show up differently tomorrow if you truly believe that your frequency has already called in the blessing? Who will you forgive? What old story will you release? What new path will you allow yourself to walk without needing everyone else to understand first? This is not just the end of a reading. It's the beginning of your alignment. If this message touched something in you, if you felt even the slightest stirring of recognition, then say it out loud. Write it down in the comments. I confirm the blessing. Let that be your echo back to the universe, your contract with this moment, your agreement to no longer pretend you're anything less than divinely equipped. And if you found meaning in these words, take a moment to like this video. Let that act anchor the energy into your timeline. Subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness if you haven't yet, because this space is more than a channel, it's a soul network. A place where those of us who see the deeper layers come to feel less alone. Your presence here means something. Thank you, from the deepest part of my spirit, for being here. You are seen. You are supported. And you are exactly on time.